Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 And we're at this is a Bhakti Yoga Enlightenment program here in Gainesville, Florida, hosted by Bhakti Rosemary. Hello, Fabiana, visiting us. Fabiana.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And yes, so it's February 15th, 2026, and we're studying Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, entitled Karma Yoga, text 37. Okay, so we'll start with the Sanskrit words responsively. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Kama.
Kama.
Esha.
Esha.
Krodha.
Krodha.
Esha.
Esha.
Rajaguna.
Rajaguna.
Samudbhava.
Samudbhava.
Mahashano.
Mahashano.
Mahapapma.
Mahapapa.
Vijaynam.
Vijaynam.
Iha.
Iha.
Varinam.
Varinam.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Kama Esha Krodha Esha.
Kama Esha Krodha Esha.
Rajaguna Samudbhava.
Rajaguna Samudbhava.
Mahashano Mahapatma.
Mahashvano Mahapatma.
Vijaynam Iha Varinam.
Vijaynam Iha Varinam.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Kama Esha Krodha Esha.
Kama Esha Krodha Esha.
Rajaguna Samudbhava.
Rajaguna Samudbhava.
Mahashano Mahapatma.
Mahashano Mahapatma.
Vijaynam Iha Varinam.
Vijaynam Iha Varinam.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Kama Esha Krodha Esha.
Kama Esha Krodha Esha.
Rajaguna Samudbhava.
Rajaguna Samudbhava.
Mahashano Mahapatma.
Mahashano Mahapatma.
Vijaynam Iha Varinam.
Vijaynam Iha Varinam.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Kama Esha Krodha Esha.
Kama Esha Krodha Esha.
Rajaguna Samudbhava.
Rajaguna Samudbhava.
Mahashano Mahapatma.
Mahashano Mahapatma.
Vijayanam Iha Varinam.
Vijaynam Iha Varinam.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Kama Esha Krodha Esha.
Kama Esha Krodha Esha.
Rajaguna Samudbhava.
Rajaguna Samudbhava.
Mahashano Mahapatma.
Mahashano Mahapatma.
Vijaynam Iha Varinam.
Vijaynam Iha Varinam.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Kama Esha Krodha Esha.
Kama Esha Krodha Esha.
Rajaguna Samudbhava.
Rajaguna Samudbhava.
Mahashana Mahapatma.
Mahashano Mahapatma.
Vijaynam Iha Varinam.
Vijaynam Iha Varinam. Okay, we'll study the word meanings responsively. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
The personality of Godhead said,
Personality of Godhead said,
Kama,
Kama,
lust,
lust,
Esha,
Esha,
all these.
all these.
Krodha,
Krodha,
wrath.
wrath.
Esha,
Esha,
all these.
all these.
Rajoguna,
Rajaguna,
the mode of passion.
the mode of passion.
Samudbhava,
Samudbhava,
born of.
born of.
Mahashana,
Mahashana,
all devouring.
all devouring.
Mahapapma,
Mahapatma,
greatly sinful.
greatly sinful.
Vidhi,
Vidhi,
no.
no.
Enam,
Enam,
this.
this.
Iha,
Iha,
in the material world.
in the material world.
Verinam,
Varinam,
greatest enemy.
greatest enemy.
Translation. The Blessed Lord said, "It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material modes of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world." Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. When a living entity comes in contact with material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust in association with the mode of passion. Or in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust, as milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. If, therefore, the modes of passion, instead of being degraded into the modes of ignorance, are elevated to the modes of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expanded Himself into many for His ever-increasing spiritual bliss, and the living entities are parts and parcels of this spiritual bliss. They also have partial independence, but by misuse of their independence, when the service attitude is transformed into the propensity for sense enjoyment, they come under the sway of lust. This material creation is created by the Lord to give a facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill these lustful propensities, and when they are completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities begin to inquire about their real position. This inquiry is the beginning of the Vedanta Sutras, wherein it is said, Attato Brahma Jigyasa, one should inquire into the Supreme. And the Supreme is defined in Srimad Bhagavatam as Janmadyasya Yaton Vayaditratascha, or, quote, the origin of everything is the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, the origin of lust is also in the Supreme. If, therefore, lust is transformed into love for the Supreme, or transformed into Krishna consciousness, or in other words, desiring everything for Krishna, then both lust and wrath can be spiritualized. Hanuman, the great servitor of Lord Ram, engaged his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore, lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies. Om Angana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Mustapitam Yena Bhutale Svayamupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vande Ham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaragana Tanjitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitams Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatuyubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanan pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 3, Text 37. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Kroda Esha Rajaguna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapatma Vidyanami Haverinam. The Blessed Lord said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material modes of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring, sinful enemy of this world. Hare Krishna. Welcome, Stephanie. Hi. Hi. All right, so this is just after text 36, where Arjuna asks the question. Text 36 reads, Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? So Arjuna essentially is asking, why do we do things that we know are really foolish? That's essentially the discussion here. Why do we do things that we don't want to do? And so we can understand. So this is not just some theoretical, abstract, philosophical ideas to contemplate. This is very grounded and practical and applicable. I feel confident to say. We could all, let's say if we said, okay, let's all make a list of at least 5 things we've done in the past week that we were like, that was really stupid. We could probably do it. Maybe even in the past 24 hours. Okay. But we're not going to go into a whole intrapersonal circle of shame sort of process here. At the same time, Arjuna is asking something we can all relate to. How come we do that? How come we do that? There's a text in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Atmendriya Priti Vancha Tare Bali Kama Krishnendriya Priti Icha Dari Premanama. That, okay, so desiring to satisfy and please the senses of the material body, that often goes in the name of love, right? Yesterday was Valentine's Day. But actually, it is lust. That is lust. Desiring to please the senses of the Supreme Person, the Absolute, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is a monotheistic philosophy and theology, one God with many names. Just like I'm one person, someone might call me Dr. Wolf, someone might call me David. 2 people call me Dad, like that. One person, different names. So Krishna is a name for the Supreme Person. So desiring to please the senses of Krishna, that's love. That's prema. So it's distinct, prema and kama. So Krishna is saying, no, Arjuna is asking, how can we do things we know are foolish? We know we're going to regret it in 10 minutes or 10 years, but we know this is really foolish. This is self-sabotaging, it's not my best interest. So Krishna he's going to give a series of verses where he's responding, and this is the first response. Kamesha Kodesha Rajguna Samudbhava Mahashano Bhampamo Vijayanam Hiyavarina. He's saying it's lust. It's lust. Coming from Rajas and Tamas. Those are the lower modes of material nature. And our choice, our choice is which vibrations, which modes of material or spiritual nature we choose to associate with, particularly in the human form. That's our opportunity. In the 1990s, as part of my doctoral dissertation, we developed what we call the Vedic Personality Inventory. It's a personality assessment inventory based on the psychology from Bhagavad Gita. And my professors, when I was suggesting that that's what I'll do as part of my doctoral thesis, they said, well, why do you want to do that? So my response essentially was, I want to establish an empirical basis for happiness. Okay? Empirical means it's not just subjective, it's quantitative. So these ancient Vedas, Bhagavad Gita is a synopsis of the essence of the Vedas, followed by Srimad Bhagavatam Sarva Vedehasanam Saram Saram Samudrita. Srimad Bhagavatam is called the cream of the Vedic literatures. So, in a sense, they present hypotheses, assertions, hypotheses. And they describe, like, everything in material existence is permeated and pervaded by three gunas, or modes of material nature. Tamagun, that's the mode of inertia. It conceals truth. It conceals enlightenment. Today's an enlightenment program, so we're taking a stand to pierce through darkness. Raja is the mode of agitation and disturbance. Okay, so in Raja, there's, to the extent that I'm identifying and implicating myself in Rajagun, then there's no question of being simply present in the present. But what about tomorrow? I need to do this, and what about this? And I have this to do, and I have that correspondence, and that phone message, and what about the finances? And so there's no question of being present in the present, to the extent that I'm allowing myself to be influenced by Rajas. Some nodding of heads. I think I can relate to that. Again, this is very practical transcendental philosophy. Meaning it's a practical philosophy about the modes of material nature with a process through which we get to free ourselves from the ropes of material nature. And sattva, like the name of our institute, sattva tov. Sattva is the mode of enlightenment, goodness. English words like saint or satisfied come from the Sanskrit sattva. And so the essence of sattva is to bring to conscious awareness that which till now has not been perceived. To the extent I'm associating with sattva, there's an expanded range of choice. Okay, and there's like the age-old philosophical and theological question of, well, is everything deterministic, mechanistic, and reductionistic, or is there free choice and free will? So Bhagavad Gita elegantly resolves that. To the extent that we implicate ourselves, yantra rudani mayaya, on the machine of material energy in the modes of rajas and tamas, then more or less, like a machine. The word is used, yantra rudani, the word machine is used. Then we're on the machine of material energy. It's like if a spirit soul, We're not, as Teilhard de Chardin said, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. So as a spiritual being, the basic principle is the consciousness we develop in the human body, that'll determine where the spirit soul goes next, what sort of body we get next. Yam yam vapi sman vavam tyajet yante kalevram tam tam eveti konte asadatad bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being we're absorbed in at the time of the change of body called death, that'll take us to our next body. Let's say we live like a dog or a pig. Okay, then we're kind of sending the message to the universe, I don't need a human body with like this relatively advanced intelligence. So then perhaps this, I'm simplifying things, but these are the basic principles of transmigration and the distinction between spirit and matter. Then the spirit soul perhaps will enter into the body, into the embryo of a female pig or a female dog and get a dog body. And then it's just like, then what will the spirit soul do in the dog's body? It will bark, because that's what those machines do. It will wallow in the mud, and that's what spirit souls in the pig body does. So similarly, to the extent in the human form that we're in tamas or rajas, then we're like machines, and we might tell ourselves, no, I'm completely free to smoke this and drink that and watch the playoffs. And it's just the modes of nature that, like dogs will bark. And to the extent we're in sattva guna, then we're expanding our range of possibilities and opportunities and choice. And so that's like it's like the platform for liberation from the gunas. And so all right. So again, this is a series of verses. Krishna is going to speak 7 verses, closing this chapter. In the final verse of this series, Krishna says, "Avambude prambudva samstabhyat manam atmana jahisha trumaha shano vijaynam ihaverinam." Okay. Krishna says, Evam Bude Prambudva Samstavyat Manata Hisha Trumahabo Kamarupam Darasadam. Thus knowing oneself to be transcendental to material senses, mind, and intelligence, one should control the lower self by the higher self, and thus, by spiritual strength, conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. So Krishna is talking about lust, that which drives us to do things that are against our higher nature. So Krishna, we have our lower nature and the higher nature. Lower nature, that's us identifying with rajas, tamas, us identifying with dead matter, because we are actually amazing, glorious spirit soul, eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. Krishna says in the penultimate verse of this chapter, Indriyani pran yahor indriyebhya pramana manasastu prabudir yobude paritastusa. So Krishna gives a hierarchy. He says, okay, there's like the bodily senses. More subtle than the bodily senses, there's the material mind. More subtle than the material mind, there's material intelligence. More subtle than material intelligence, that's the spirit soul. That's the spirit soul. Okay, basic analogies we've used in different capacities, borrowing from Srila Prabhupada. We're not the car, we're the driver of the car. This is like the car. An analogy with more distinction. We're not the hardware, we're not the software. We're the operator of the computer. Okay? The software represents subtle matter, mind, intelligence, like the French philosopher Descartes. He went through a whole process and he realized he's not his body, he's not his leg, he's not his finger. But they came to, I think, therefore I am. So there was still apparently some identification of the self with the subtle matter. But we're not the mind either. Just like I use the hand to pick up things, I use the eyes to see. So I use my mind to think. But I'm not my mind. I'm not my And so, and so, to the extent, so we misidentify Vayam Bitiya Vinivesha Tasya, what that says from the Bhagavatam. To the extent we misidentify the eternal spirit self with the temporary body, we will be insecure. We will be experiencing anxiety. Guaranteed. If we drop an object, it's going to fall. It's just a spiritual law. It's a spiritual law. And it won't matter. Yeah, it won't matter what kind of car we're driving. Won't matter what kind of house we live in. Won't matter how much status we have in society. It won't even matter how much jewelry we have. Yeah.
It's a shame.
It's a shame, yeah. And you're still disappointed by that reality. Yeah. We will be insecure. So this is like just getting to the essence. It's just getting to the essence. We'll be insecure, we'll be miserable. And then so much of life is about trying to mask that pain, that fear, that insecurity. Maybe through shopping, maybe through sex, maybe through drugs, maybe through food, eating, refrigerator. Yeah. Are you speaking to me personally?
I didn't make cookies then because I didn't want to feel that, so I made potatoes instead.
Okay.
But it was tempting.
Okay.
I already tempted him. I brought cookies.
Yeah, so we all have our different strategies to avoid the pain and the emptiness. We all have our different strategies. Doom scrolling. Yeah. So that's all. It's called. It's that emptiness inside. Now, all right, this is not a pessimistic philosophy. It's very optimistic. I mean, it's looking at reality. I once heard a comedian say, to try to be satisfied and happy through material acquisition is like trying to satisfy one's hunger by taping sandwiches to your body. Sorry, I put that image in your mind. But now you're stuck with it, so nothing you can do. Okay, but that's the idea. So no, that's just it's external. So so this is about conceptually and experientially realizing who we are as blissful spirit souls, servants of the Supreme Person. Well, and to the extent that we don't do that, we will be in anxiety. We will be insecure. Guaranteed, guaranteed. And then and to the extent that we're not realizing that, we will be, to use the terminology here, lusty. We will be acting according to lust, trying to satisfy, trying to be fulfilled and satisfy in that futile endeavor, in that frustrating endeavor, to satisfy the self through gratifying material senses, Whether it's overt senses, like the sense of touch, the sense of sight, the sense, and subtle senses. There's, the writer Thomas Wolfe, he said, "You have achieved the pinnacle of success as soon as you are no longer interested in compliments, popularity, or money." So that relates to subtle sense gratification. Prophet, I'll be adored. I'll be famous. I'll be distinguished. I'll be popular. People will compliment me and honor me. It's subtle lust. There's more gross lust, and then there's subtle lust. And that's completely consistent with Bhagavad Gita. Thomas Wolfe uses the term popularity compliments money. Bhagavad Gita uses the term profit, adoration, and distinction. That's the lust of the subtle material body. Okay. So, all right. So this, when I say this is about liberation, I mean this process given in Bhagavad Gita. It's a process called Bhakti Yoga. Bhagavad Gita, this is the source book, the original book of all the types of yoga, whether Hatha Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga. And in every section about all the types of yogas, it always culminates in Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of loving devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what all the yoga, the physical yoga, it's all meant to come to that. And then we're set up to actually love and to not be a slave to the material senses. Then we're set up to actually love. It's described also in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ata Eva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhikami Sakali Ashanta. Shanta means peace, and Ashanta is agitation, disturbance, insecurity, anxiety. So it describes as long as we have any gross or subtle material desires, we're dooming ourselves to not be peaceful. Again, it's just like spiritual laws. It's not even about good, bad, right, wrong. This is sinful. It's just like the Vedas give an assertion, and it describes that to the extent that we cultivate rajasic and tamasic habits and worldviews, that's going to correlate with disturbance and agitation and depression and high stress and anxiety and jealousy and envy and all those experiences where we prefer not to be indulging in. And to the extent that we cultivate sattvic habits in each area of life and sattvic worldviews, that's going to correlate with security and peace and fulfillment and enthusiasm and freedom and inspiration, purposefulness, connection, empathy, all those qualities. So it's that's why Prabhupada so often used that term. This is a science of self-realization. It's an empirical basis for happiness. An empirical basis for happiness. And so this is not about shutting down desire. It's the nature of the self to desire. And we like to emphasize that. Bhagavad Gita emphasized. In this very chapter, earlier in this chapter, Krishna says, well, sometimes I'll start it with a negative, like, because there's many approaches to attempts at spirituality and the ideas, because we've all experienced how much trouble and difficulty desire causes us, and embarrassment. So just rid yourselves of all desire. Just rid yourself of all desire. Okay, so I'm like intensely desiring to give up. No, but I shouldn't desire. No, desire not too intense in it. Okay, so here's the thing. To rid ourselves of all desire sounds great. The only problem is it's completely impossible. Other than that, go for it. Great idea. It's completely impossible. Just like ask sugar to not be sweet. Ask fire to not be hot. No, the Sanskrit word is dharma. Dharma means that which is intrinsic to a thing, that which cannot be separated to a thing. Our nature is to desire. Our choice is how to direct our desire. And in a sense, when we direct our unavoidable, our natural propensity for desire to pleasing Krishna senses, and that's not material desire anymore. It's like it's the natural expression, function, and activity of the self. It's the natural activity of the self. It's the natural expression of the self, and we uncover that natural spiritual nature, spiritual desire. Then we're peaceful. And it's a dynamic peace. It's not like a falling asleep type of peace. It's a dynamic piece. And so, okay, so right now we're in what's called, the term is like the conditioned state, where we're driven. We put ourselves in a conditioned state where, like, I'm conditioned to think I'm this body. I'm David Wolf, 65 years old. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And then based on that, I'm this body. Then then the gross and subtle material body. I'm on that machine. I'm on that machine. And so to transform to the liberated state, which again, it's not the state of crushing desire, it's a state of transforming the quality of desire from material to spiritual, to serve the senses, to please the senses of the supreme person. So to do that, then yeah, just like then that's for most all of us, that requires voluntarily engaging in some austerity. Someone can say, "Oh, I don't want to do austerity." So the response is, too bad. Because here's the thing, as a spiritual being in the human form, you're going to do austerity. It's interesting because sometimes I just want to do what's natural. I just want to do what's natural. Okay. But natural for what? Natural. Yeah, because like for me, what's natural is getting up and going to the refrigerator at least 10 times per day. No, really, it is. Don't try to squelch my freedom. Okay. So is that really natural for me, the spirit soul? It's natural for me to the extent I identify me as tongue and belly. Okay. For me, it's natural to sleep till noon. I mean, I definitely have a part of me for which that's natural. And here's the thing, because other species, they don't do any austerity. Time to have sex, have sex. Time to eat, eat. Time to fight, fight. Just like, well, just kind of tolerate the insults, and even though it's not your turf. Or why don't you fast today? Or other species won't do that. It's time, and that's natural for them. But for spiritual beings having human experience, it's natural to forego some immediate material sensory pleasure for some longer term profound fulfillment. That's natural for spiritual beings. And to the extent that we don't cultivate that part of spiritual nature, then essentially we're dvipada pashu. We're living like two-legged animals. The essential activities, if we reduce it for other species, is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And if that's like all we're doing in the human form, then it's like it's like a waste of the human form. Kamasi nindriya pritir labo jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa nartayasya karmabi. The goal of human life should never be simply gratifying the senses, sense gratification. Human life is meant for inquiry into the absolute truth. That's the special gift, the special opportunity. Nothing else should be the goal of one's endeavors. And so Prabhupada emphasizes that here. Atito Brahma Jigyasa. Atito. That means now. Now what? Now that we're in a human form, rather than a pig form or a dog form or a squirrel form or a tree form. Now that we're in human form, Brahma Jigyasa means to inquire. We can see like the English word or the Greek gnosis, the English word to know. Jigyasa, to inquire for knowledge about spirit, about the distinction between spirit and matter, and soul and body, and what's the purpose of my life. These are other species don't get to ask these questions, and so if we're also not profoundly in these questions, and we're just giving ourselves to glorified forms of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, that's a waste. Bhagavad Gita said that's a sad waste of the human form of life. So in human life we're going to do austerity. I don't want to do austerity. No, I just do this job for 50 hours a week that like I really don't like, and of course I have to drive an hour each way to get there. And okay, well, it sounds like an austerity to me. Right? So you're doing that because you're trusting that with that paycheck, then you'll be happier than if you were homeless or like that. Or I want to get that college degree. I want to become expert at playing the piano. I want to be at a concert level. I want to be expert at playing tennis. To do anything with proficiency means we give up some immediate gratification. We're not going to just go to the bar every night or something. For trusting that I'm going to get some longer term fulfillment. So, Lord Rishabhadev, in the fifth canto of Bhagavatam, he describes to his sons, headed by Bharat, Nayam dehu deha pajam viloke kastan kamano heti vidbu jamye tapu divyam pujakena sattvam shuddhed yasmad brahma sokyam tvanantam. So he's talking about an upward spiral. What if we actually dissect his language there? He's saying, look, in the human form of life, don't settle for that quality of enjoyment that's available to the stool eaters, vidbujamye, the pigs and the dogs. Go for ever increasing eternal bliss, the actual bliss of the soul, not just some sort of like shadow mirage of happiness that's disconnected from the actual life of the soul in devotional service to the Supreme Person. And so he says human life's meant to voluntarily engage in austerity that will bring us each moment, each day to Shuddhed Yasmad Brahma Tvanantam Sokyam Tvanantam, ever increasing, ever deepening spiritual bliss that comes by realizing who we are as not the body, spirit, soul, Ekaleshvara Krishna, Arasabhabrija, servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And then the guideline, well, what's that mean as far as my communication? What's that mean as far as my relationship with eating, sleeping, money? What's that mean? And those guidelines are given. How to perform austerity. Because here, human life, we're going to do austerity. So this is like giving guidelines. How to engage in austerity that will free us from tamas and rajas and illusion and this downward spiral. Earlier in chapter 2 is like a summary of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 2, Krishna gives an 8-step downward spiral. Jayatu Vishyan Pumsam Sagastis Sagat Sanjayate Kamat Kodo Bijayate. Krishna says, while contemplating the objects of the senses, one develops attachment for them. From attachment, lust develops. From lust comes anger, and then we go deeper and deeper into tamas. So we contemplate the objects of the senses. It could be the eyes, the ears. It could be a subtle material sense. Like, yeah, it would be nice to be respected in that way. Well, it'd be nice if my enemies could be crushed. That would be like really satisfying. Yeah. Perhaps I'm revealing too much in these role plays here. Okay. So like, no, this is the material mind. And then, okay, from contemplating, then we'd be attachment. Now, lust essentially means, I don't want that. I need that. And then we're living with blinders on. Then we're living with blinders on. Lust means no possibility of empathy, sensitivity to the feelings of others, or like that. Whereas the sattva or bhakti, full loving devotional service, and then our spiritual personalities awaken, and then we realize who we are is not the body. Then we're secure, and then we're not in a lusty, grabby, needy way under the illusion of like, I'll be happy if I can just greedily get this, or if I can just put this one down. That's material happiness is like, well, even though I'm suffering and empty inside, but she's doing worse than me, so I guess that's pretty good. Or I'm not as miserable as last year. That's pretty good. But we're talking here about the actual happiness of the soul. It's not comparative. It's not relative. That's what Bhagavad Gita gives a process for to it. And it's not all or nothing. Krishna says, Naya Pikramanashaste, Pachivaya Navijite Svapamapyasi Dharmisa Trite Matobaya. Krishna is encouraging us, give 100% for your own bliss. But you give 1%, right? That's for your eternal enrichment, eternal benefit. And it's for that intrinsic bliss and fulfillment of the self. That's, it's not based on the illusion that if I fulfill some empty material desires, because that's the nature of lust and greed and envy. Even if, well, generally we're not going to achieve what we're lusting for. But even if we achieve it, then it's like, oh, it's difficult to admit. I'm still empty inside. But maybe I need to make it seem like, oh yeah, no, the new job's great. Oh yeah. Because it would be embarrassing. Like, no, I've been fighting for this job, climbing the ladder, and now I'm just as empty and miserable as before. So, in closing, Srila Rupa Goswami emphasizes Anasaktasi Vishanya Tamupayunjatani Bandha Krishna Samde Yuktam Vairagam Yuchate. So this is not a world rejecting process or philosophy. It's very world embracing. And I'm closing with that because it could seem so. It's not about rejecting matter. It's about cultivating knowledge and wisdom and realization how to use the material body and all material, because ultimately all energies, what are they? They're energies of God. They're energies of Krishna. And so this bhakti yoga, it's about learning the art and science of how to relate to all the energies in a way that supports the science of self-realization, supports the soul to turn towards itself in self-realization, the soul to turn towards source in an attitude of devotion. And so it's not about, like, because if we look at the whole conversation here between Arjuna and Krishna, Arjuna is on a battlefield, and at the beginning of the story, it's a story, but it's real history. At the beginning of the conversation, Arjuna's on a battlefield. He thought, like, look, I'll be spiritual. I'll put down my bow, and I'll go to the forest and just meditate with the sages. And we won't go through the whole thing, but as Bhagavad Gita unfolds, Arjuna realizes that for him to be spiritual means pick up your bow and fulfill your responsibility. You have innocent people to protect from some vicious predators and attackers. So fight with Krishna center. Fight for God. Tasmad sarveshu kaleshu mamanushmara yudhyacha maya pita manobidar mamiveshyasya samshaya. Krishna says to Arjuna, think of me, think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, always. And fight. Well, which one is it? Choose. No, both at the same time. Fulfill our responsibilities in all spheres of life. Relationships, finances, career. Fulfill our responsibilities with 100% commitment and without attachment to the external results, and with attachment to pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, with my effort. Karmanyeva dikaras te ma paleshu kadachana ma pala karma hetur bor mate sangha svakarmani. Krishna says you have a responsibility and an opportunity to fulfill your responsibility, but not to the results. And Krishna is encouraging us not to see ourselves as the doer, and not to be attached to shirking our duty. To engage all the energies in Krishna's service. That's what it means to actually spiritualize ourselves, our lives, our bodies, and the world. So this is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 37. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Kroda Esha Rajaguna Samudbhava Mahasha No Mahapatma Vijay Nami Haverinam. And the translation: the Blessed Lord said, "It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material modes of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world." Hare Krishna. Thanks for giving your power of hearing to Bhagavad Gita. I welcome at this time if anyone would like to ask any questions or share any comments, realizations, inspirations. Any questions or comments at this time?
This is silly, but if I was driving to Ocala, thank you for class and for reminding me to, because I was reflecting on this, but I was driving down the Ocala National Forest a week ago, and it's just a long road with nothing much out there but forest.
I've been that ride many times.
Yeah, there's a lot of nature. It's pretty and everything, and then all of a sudden there were all these cars on both sides of the road for miles, and they were all going to a place called Hogwaller, where you get to waller in the mud. And so this verse, this thought of like,
this is great stuff, actually. This is great stuff.
Like, is like the consciousness. I mean, I prayed, I chanted, I was like, this is like, it's the worst of activities we can do for our consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
To go waller in the mud. It's not like we're eating in the fridge, we can kind of relate to, but to go, I'm going to work and buy a vehicle that's good for mud wallering. I'm going to get the right clothes for mud wallering. I'm going to bring myself with a lot of friends that like to waller too, and then I'm going to go and spend a whole day on Sunday in the traffic of parking and walking so far, and there must have been 1,000 people there, all wallering. So, wallering in the mud, yeah. So it's like, I was sad, but I also was giggling because we talked so much about this choosing habits that might bring our consciousness to, at the time of death, going into a pig's body. And I don't know about those guys. I was worried anyway. So I just wanted to share that because it's like this. We as humans have created something so ridiculous. It's really popular apparently in the middle of the forest. They've dug up a space and pulled up all the trees so they can actually get dirty and get in the mud. And the dirtier you get, I'm sure the better it is. Like the better you are at it,
the more successful you are.
Yeah, you get a star if you're like really muddy. I'm sure it's not if you're clean, like you didn't do it good enough.
I wasn't aware of that whole pastime until right now.
Hey, Matt. Matt came also from everything. Hey, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
And then I just wanted to share that in relation to what you were saying, that recently, in the last few weeks, because we have some big things coming up in April, and just because it's the beginning of the new year and things are fresh, and there's also some stuff going on with the planets I keep hearing about. So I just decided to do some experiments with myself and like tune up my listening propensity. I do a lot already. I think I do a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't give my credit because I love listening, and I know the importance of hearing in bhakti. But I just was like, let me just experiment with the minute I wake up, like really turn it on.
Okay.
And even if there's things I'm doing, just have it. Even if I can't fully focus, just have it. And listening to everything from kirtan to lectures to Prabhupada to classes of all the teachers that I like. With
intent, like each moment from the time you wake up.
And write it down and write stuff, reflect, and really like drive hard on it. And so it added like probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 hours a day more of listening. So I'm experimenting with it. And
you're immersing yourself.
I'm immersing, and it just ups the game completely. So I'm just here to say that it works. I think we know that. It's just a matter of choosing to actually committing 100% to it. And it can look so many different ways. So there's variety that I can suit my own nature to be creative in the ways that I listen. And now my reading is more, has intensified, and I feel so much more alive, and so my chanting's better. Like, so it's just like making that commitment to go. I don't want to get, I do feel like I'm caught up in the machine of life, and like that Rogers and Thomas can get me in the refrigerator, can get me and all that stuff. And so, but I don't as much, and I'm just experimenting now for a few weeks. So I'm not talking lifetimes. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
if I can see the effect in a short amount of time, because there's nobody watching me out where I live. So I could real easily just do whatever I want.
You're free. You're free.
I roll the roost or whatever. So it's like, I'm sharing that it doesn't take much, and it's not as hard as we think. It's not as hard as I think, and that I'm enjoying the results as far as like my consciousness. I can feel a brighter, cleaner version of it. Honestly, and I had a long talk yesterday about just some household and personal stuff, and I could feel that I wanted to honor that conversation and be honest and real, and really, connect with her. And so, of course, we had the tools, but I chose to go to the park and chant for an hour and play cartels in the park and then read 10 verses before the conversation. I know this sounds like we know this, but like before, I may not have taken that time or carved out that austerity too, because I've got so many things to do that I don't have time to do all that preparation for a really serious conversation. And so I did that yesterday and just made things so much more clear and responsible and mature and sattvic and so forth. So I'm just sharing that. I didn't stop at Hogwaller. I'm actually doing some listing. I'm probably wallering in some other ways, but for now, that I think that opened my eyes to what all this wallering in mud that we talk about in Bhakti, about the pig's life, and Prabhupada makes so many references to see that place and to see how silly it looks. That this is what we're choosing to do with the whole entire day and with a lot of our budget and time, and to go, well, what am I doing that might be similar? Maybe it's not as obvious as a waller in the mud, but I just decided that day that I was like, okay, I'm just going to turn up the
I'm moved by your intentionality. Just
Yeah.
like today, I'm like, and you're experimenting. You're experimenting with that, and your experience, the science, and you're just making a difference. Science, a pillar of science is a logical hypothesis, and then the next pillar is an experiment to put myself in the laboratory. Here, the laboratory, it's the laboratory of our heart, the laboratory of our consciousness. I'm just going to be intentional for like each moment, and you're adding hours of listening to sattvic transcendental vibration, and you're experiencing in the laboratory of your heart. This is working. This is transformational. It's making a difference.
It's not that I didn't know that before. It's just sometimes those moments happen where we just get clear and we make a decision, we commit, and then because of the planetary alignment and whatever is happening in this world right now, in my world, it was time.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I don't know. I'm capable of it all of a sudden, and I wasn't capable before that. It was good before that, but now it's really good. And it can get better. It's got to get better. It's just, I get the healthy pride, and I like the way it feels, and then all the complicated, stressed out stuff that goes on at the Bhakti house and Prabhupada and between men honesty and whatever is so much easier to deal with in that frame of mind. It just makes sense to prepare our minds for those situations because they're going to come up with guests, with money, with our relationships and so forth. Just makes perfect sense to me.
Thanks.
Bhakti.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Lakshmi Priya. Yeah, it's so, we talked about like a science of self-realization, and the cornerstone of the process is, well, it starts with awareness of what we're hearing. What's the association we're giving to ourselves, and what's the quality of vibration. Fabiana from I think she's in Peru right now. Thank you for the lecture and sharing. Wish you a fulfilling rest of the day. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Fabiana. So, right. So Krishna describes. Well, Sutta Goswami describes. Shrinvatam svakata Krishna punya shravana kirtanam vidanta stoya bhadrani vidunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna who is the Paramatma super soul in the heart of all living entities, and um, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, personally cleanses the heart of material desire, for one who's hearing his names, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So this is really the main part of this process of bhakti, or like, let's say it's the cornerstone. Hearing and chanting, it's described in the Upanishads, iti shoda shakam nam nam kali kalmasha nashanam, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That this 16-word mantra, composed of 3 words, all of which are names of the divine, like Hare is one of the words in the mantra. That's the feminine essence of the divine. Krishna means all attractive, and Rama means the reservoir of all pleasure. That hearing and chanting this mantra, it's the most recommended process for self-realization and purification of heart and developing love of God in this age. And we mentioned purification. It's like, to the extent that I'm not pure, to the extent that I'm holding on to greed, lust, envy, jealousy, and self-deception, and all of the impurities, I'm really giving myself no chance for actual joy. Giving myself no chance for actual joy. And so this purification, it positively correlates with actual happiness, security, bliss, playfulness, the joy of the self coming alive. And then, the term in Sanskrit, Maya, it's one meaning is illusion. So so I appreciated your sharing, Lakshmi Priya. We're all wallowing in different ways, to the extent that we're attached to any sort of these self-sabotaging habits that Arjuna's asking about. Why do we do things that we know are foolish and that I'm going to be suffering later? And that's the force of Maya. There's actually the story about the pig in the Vedas. So Indra, he's like the prime minister of heaven. So like very high level of sense enjoyment there. But anyhow, he was a bit reckless, and he got cursed by some sage to take birth as a pig wallowing in mud. And so there with his pig and piglets and spouse pigs, and just wallowing in mud like that. And the farmer was about to come and chop off their heads, because that's why he was raising the pigs. And anyhow, then Brahma, who is like the prime minister of the whole universe, not just heavenly planets, because things weren't being managed so effectively in the heavenly planets, so he told Indra, it's time to come back to, fulfill your responsibilities here. But Indra just thought that Brahma was envious. Maybe he was envious of his wife pig, and he said. So Indra was thinking he was very happy in that situation. So there's a few aspects of Maya, but one aspect is called the throwing potency, Chaitmatmika Shakti, throws us into the illusion. Many layers of illusion, but primary illusion. Forgetting that I'm spirit soul, I'm thinking I'm this body. That's primary illusion. Hare Krishna Ramachandra Prabhu, Hare Krishna. And then Avranatmika Shakti covering us, like in a miserable condition, and thinking that, oh no, we're really happy here, and then we're not going to get intense Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, to engage in Bhakti Yoga and go for the true bliss, the bliss of the soul. That's Ahetukya Pratyataya Yatma Suprasidati, which means that's a happiness that nothing material can stop. There's no interruption. It's ever increasing. It's ever increasing, because yeah, even we can think of whatever material obstacle or catastrophe or travesty. Well, nothing can stop us from serving Krishna if we're sincere. And that's the bliss of the soul. That's security. That's the bliss of the soul. Another way to see two functions of Maya is one, we can say, related to this verse about lust, Maya has a manufacturing department and an advertising department. So the advertising department convince us that's what an effective advertising department will convince us. You don't want this. You need it. You need it to be, yeah. If you don't have the next version of 0.3 or whatever, yeah, you need this shiny, you need this new shiny thing. You have to have it. You have to have it. Oh, I guess I do. I guess, and some of my friends have it before me. Oh my God. Okay, so that's the adverse shiny things. And then the manufacturing department is like, and now here is that thing that you've been convinced you needed. Okay, so this is a process of transforming our relationship with sound vibration, because we're going to hear sound vibration, right? Whether it's like we're going to glorify, someone in the political arena or sports arena or or intellectual arena or entertainment. We're going to glorify. That's part of our Dhira, part of our nature. So this is let's glorify that which is truly sublime, that which is truly divine and free from any material inebriety. We're going to chant. I mean, we're going to read. We're going to chant. So it's not about this bhakti yoga. It's not about eliminating any of these propensities. It's about transforming them from matter to spirit. Hare Krishna.
I mean, I'll just share that when I find that I'm doing some sort of escapist habit, like eating a cookie or, being very addicted to my phone at times, amongst other things. I'm sure I can get addicted to negative critical thinking about other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Avoiding responsibility, avoiding effort, but also not taking care of myself, not taking care of things like sleep and health and
To not be balanced, and your mind will give some reason for it, but at some level of the spirit self, this isn't good for me.
Right, and any relief that provides is very temporary, with some growing anxiety underneath that. It's like procrastination, or just avoiding taking the step up the mountain in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
And instead, it's like the pressure's building.
Yeah.
Now you've got to sprint up the mountain. And
it becomes harder.
Yeah. Right. So it's counterproductive. It might materially give some small inkling of relief, but underlying that, it's building dread, building distrust of myself.
Distress, because then you're in the downward spiral, and then now I trust myself less because I've dug myself further into the pit, and I said I wouldn't do that, and then I did it. So now the next time I tell myself something, I'm not going to believe myself. Digging a deeper hole makes it harder to climb out.
And I find so I've been getting a little more steady with bhakti, with chanting every day. There was a period where I didn't really have much commitment to that, and I'm still kind of holding the commitment lightly as to not put too much pressure too soon.
Yeah.
But also I've found myself inspired with spending more consistent time at Prabhupada's house, visiting Lakshmi Priya, and just having that space to unplug from the momentum of my day-to-day life and see how like excited I actually am, how satisfied I actually am with reading Vedic texts, and how purifying and healing it is to chant, even if it's temporarily painful, because it's like you know, going and confessing your sins, but at the physical level for me it's like here's all the backlog of the stuff that you haven't processed, or that is like this wall of like tamasic energy or sin or something that's like the heart keeps the score of where I am lining up with my integrity. And so it is for me a very visceral process chanting when I haven't been steady for some time, or just if there's been a lot of reactivity for me lately, a lot of like old stuff that's come up. So yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's like facing the mirror and seeing what a mess you are, and it hurts in that moment, and then it's like freedom on the other side, like the freedom to, like you said, choose.
Yeah.
The freedom to come into contact with the peace that is that which I already am, but have temporarily forgotten or gotten clouded over by whatever kind of material striving, coming from a place of not enoughness or lethargy and avoidance, stagnation, which causes depression, and then me to blame or feel powerless. So there's, yeah, I'm very familiar with all of this in my own
You
ways.
you could see yourself in the various descriptions.
And also I see how this bhakti yoga process is like, it clears away the veils and the pain and the momentum that feels like it's rooted in shame or just like a confusion, like a, you know, forgetfulness, because I know the stuff, I know what I could be doing, but I feel like in this modern world it's just everywhere. Everywhere there's somebody who's more successful or more attractive or more whatever it is, like there's and all that stuff is kind of like shoved in your face through advertisements that are geared towards, you know, whatever you last were talking about and that kind of thing. So
Geared towards accentuating and intensifying the greed, the envy, the lust. You have to. That's what that sound vibration and that those images are geared for.
Right. And I was talking with Leo recently about how it can look so attractive, like the here's a one-stop shop of a 30-second long video that will tell you exactly what you need in order to not, you know, hate yourself, or in order to not have this communication problem, or in order to be productive, and so it's like that might be this attractive soundbite for a moment, but like, yeah, the emptiness of doom scrolling, it has the same effect of like, okay, well, did I really learn anything new from that? And did I really find like the solution that I'm searching for? And I feel like in that state of consciousness, it's for me, whether it's the addictive habits or whatever, there's some kind of relief that I'm trying to get at, but it's from my thinking mind that is identified with the problem that I'm having. And from that place, bhakti practices almost seems like a foreign language.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, what? Well, that's not going to pay the bills. That's not going to whatever. But then it really is like going back to the fountain that from within like brings peace throughout my whole being. And
it gets to the be, do, have. It gets to the core of the being.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And from that place, I'm just like actually a better person, and I actually have wisdom that I need to hear and that I can share with others because
and then you're connected with that inner wisdom and that inner peace that 100 years of doom scrolling will never give.
Right. Yeah. So it seems almost from the problem consciousness or the victim consciousness that I can get identified with, where it looks like the problems, the answer's outside of me, and if I just stay in anxiety or get in more anxiety or dwell in like avoidance, maybe I'll get that relief. It's like that's me, I guess, being in the machine of my material mind and like kind of like unplugging from that whole thing and coming back to more regularity with the practice, with reading, with chanting, with being in spaces where we're raising our consciousness on what's really going on here, where we're honestly, bravely meeting like ourselves where we're at. And for me, it looks like acknowledging what's the emotion that I've been running away from. Once I can start there, then it's like everything kind of just opens up from within.
That's a gateway. It's a gateway to yourself, to acknowledge and to experience what's actually happening rather than to avoid it and numb it and dull it. I'm very moved, Stephanie, by your vulnerability, your honesty, your sharing, and and I'm seeing myself in my own spiral and cycle, because I'm just, whatever, we've known each other for several years, and I'm getting like you're in an organic, authentic way, like, in one sense you're coming to the same place, but from a higher place, with more wisdom, higher place on the spiral, with more realization. And so we talked about like the primacy, the foundational practices of hearing and chanting. In one sense, just as or even more foundational is Sangha, association. And so you're associating there at Prabhupada House in Melrose with Lakshmi Priya, Anasuya, and then that's making all the difference. That's making all the difference for you through the quality of association, and because even in the bhakti literatures, even association actually tends to come before the hearing and chanting, that we're associating with others, and kind of like, this is kind of like the quality of experience I want in friendship, in association. And then naturally, what are they doing? Oh, they're reading Bhagavad Gita, and they're chanting Hare Krishna. And so I'm appreciating how I use this in a most positive way. You're taking shelter of bhakti association. Actually, as we're speaking, it was just yesterday, I saw you on a video. It was like a 20-second clip, and there was Stephanie carrying a big box of Bhagavatam, smiling, shining brightly. Must have been posted by Lakshmi Priya.
Yeah.
So that's my guess.
She lets me.
Yeah, but I was actually moved. You were like shining from the depths of your spirit.
Yeah, yeah, I got a chance to serve right before that and was really connected to serving for God and not for myself. And so you're probably seeing some of the bliss of that, and then yeah, I've been so compelled just seeing some pages of Leah's Srimad Bhagavatam and finding myself like wanting to read more, seeing how, like, I mean, the Bhagavad Gita has been powerful in a similar way, but it's like there's so much more.
There is,
And depth and detail, and so it's really exciting to me. And the first time that I visited a few weeks back, after a while, she was like, I don't know who's going to take this Srimad Bhagavatam. and then she was like, I can't get enough of it. Like, look at this. Like, let's talk about it. And then I was like, wait, I want to like look over there, and I want to look over there. And so yeah, I'm really excited.
Well, I came down the next morning to read before we did our program, and my book was gone. And my journal was there with no book, and I was like, who would come? And then I went, oh, somebody's reading it. That's okay. Somebody took it up to her reading.
I hope I don't get in the way of her reading, but yeah, it really rests my mind and also gives me something to think about that feels, I don't know, it feels multiple levels deeper than any YouTube expert video or something like that.
I relate to that. I've gone down those rabbit holes too, for sure. The part of each day I look forward to the most is reading Srimad Bhagavatam, reading Prabhupada's books, whether it's Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And it's just like, it comes time, oh, well, do I really have time to read? And then oftentimes, like within the first moments, the first sentence, I get experiential reminder, like, oh, this is why I'm reading. And there is nothing more important. There is nothing, not even like in a calculation sense, just in like a transformational sense, and just get it. And so, it's part of each day I look forward to the most, and my favorite time to do it is the pre-dawn hours, even before I chant, because then when I chant, it supports me to be focused on Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, rather than the YouTube expert I saw yesterday, or that sort of thing.
Yeah. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that I've come into contact with this path, and also that I keep being pulled in more and more genuinely. And it feels more complete too, having my own love for the reading of the texts.
You've developed a taste compared to a few years ago, like that. So it's a deep, an actual taste. Rasa Varjam Rasopyasa Paramdrishtam Nivartate. Krishna emphasizes in Bhagavad Gita, we're generally not going to give up a lower taste of Rajas and Tamas unless we've developed a higher taste. So you're developing a taste for reading Prabhupada's books. I'm very happy for you.
Thanks. I think I always had the taste, but I mean, I was mainly just exposed to the Bhagavad Gita, which is not to say just, but and I was in a book club, and from the first time that I read it, there was this transcendental quality that just kind of shifted my state into one that was more spiritual, more at peace, but also inspired, and it's like it wakes you up where you've been sleeping, but it also calms you down where you've been like,
agitated,
anxious.
Anxious,
So, but I think I felt like a similar thing that Lakshmi Priya has felt, of like that this is something that I was exposed to in a past life, or something about it feels really familiar and really resonant, and I think I kind of brush it off as like, oh, I kind of know this, or there was something in me that didn't quite feel like there's more for me to know here, and that, I mean, that was a little bit arrogant of me, but I think it was just like a minimal exposure, and I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense to me, but not like a strong drive to read more on my own. Yeah. And I've opened up the Bhagavad Gita and read sections over the years, but yeah, so I mean, I've had that motivation, but I do feel like there, and I don't even quite know. I mean, maybe you could tell me a little bit of like what the Srimad Bhagavatam is per se, like, because there's just something to me that's really compelling about these texts, and I mean, there's such a breadth and stories and lessons, and
yeah. I appreciate your humble introspection. You say, maybe I had some arrogance going on there, and I hear you're moving organically to a deeper determination and commitment, organically, between you and Supersoul in the heart, to give yourself to Srimad Bhagavatam. What is Srimad Bhagavatam? Sarva Vedatyasnam Saram Samudrita. It's the cream of the Vedas. It's the natural follow-up to Bhagavad Gita. So everything that's there in Bhagavad Gita is expanded and deepened and strengthened in more nuance and detail in Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's described Nigama Kapatura Galitam Palam Sukhamukaram Rita Dravi Savitam. It's the ripened fruit of the desire tree of Vedic knowledge. And okay, so briefly, some history of Bhagavatam. So the compiler of the Vedas, his name is Srila Vyasadeva, and he compiled the Vedas. And what I'm saying now, this is described at the beginning of the Bhagavatam. The story of the Bhagavatam is described there. And then Vyasadeva, he compiled all this most phenomenal literature, and then he was like despondent. He was depressed. And his spiritual master, Narada Muni, came and said, how come you're depressed? This is described, chapters 4 to 7 of the first canto. And Narada Muni said, how come you're despondent? You just did this marvelous literary accomplishment. And then Vyasadeva he essentially said, you don't even need to ask. You're so deeply empathic, you know what's happening for me. Narada Muni said, you're right. And he said, yeah, I know what's happening. That even if you gave all these Vedas, and it's a desire tree, you can go to heavenly planets, you can get success in this lifetime, you can get impersonal liberation. Anything a human wants is there in the Vedas. But you know that even though you gave the ultimate goal, pure loving bhakti to Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's going to get lost. And especially in this age when people aren't so sharp or spiritually inclined, they're going to miss it. And because you've got compassionate heart, people are still going to suffer, and they're going to be insecure and be full of anxiety and tormented, and they're going to indulge in all sorts of vicious activities that are like envious of the self, and just doing all sorts of torment and torture of the mind and like that. So he says, so that's why you're not satisfied, because people aren't going to get the essence. They're going to miss it through all your Upanishads and Puranas and Rig Veda. They're going to miss the essence of pure loving service to Krishna. So as a result, it's described Bhakti Yogina Manasi, Bhakti Yogina Manasi, Samyak Pranihite Male, Apash. That then Vyasadeva, he went into a trance of bhakti at a place called Samyapras. It's got a beautiful place on the banks of the river Sarasvati, a hut surrounded by berry trees, a beautiful transcendental place. And then as a result, Anarto Pashmam Sakshat Bhakti Yuga Madhokshaje Lokasya Janatavidams Chakri Satvata Samitam. As a result, he could see that the weeds in the heart, the dust, the dirt on the diamond, all of the impurities, all of the suffering was due to the spirit souls misidentifying the self with the body and not realizing who they are, servants of Krishna. And as a result of his transformation, he revealed the Bhagavatam, which gives the essence. Dharma Projita Kvarvatra Harmonia Matsarana. It is Bhagavatam starts completely rejecting anything religious or spiritual that's actually cheating, that's actually subserving or supporting materialism in the guise of spiritualism in the name of religion, this and that, and it gives the essence of pure devotional service, and it does it through philosophy and story. It sometimes gives stories that could seem material, the stories of great kings who had, but then it shows that even like these great material personalities, they gave up everything for bhakti to Krishna. And so that's some history and essence of Bhagavatam. And yeah, it's this guy. You need to be careful once you get me going about Bhagavatam. But I'll just give one. It's described, Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplava. It was predicted 5,000 years ago that this Bhagavatam, it's meant, it's designed, it's revealed to create a revolution in consciousness for the misdirected souls of this age. Bhagavatam is meant to transform the consciousness of us as individuals, communities, and planetary. Viplavo means revolution. Thank you for the question, Stephanie. Hare Krishna. So, Rosemary, as host of the program, I'm turning to you. Next part of our Enlightenment program is mantra in the form of japa. Okay. So in the next part of the program, for those who'd like to participate, just like at the beginning program, Anasuya and then Lakshmi Priya, they led us in mantra meditation in the form of kirtan. So now we'll experience mantra meditation in the form of japa. Hello, Neil. Good to see you. Here, I'll take a strand of beads. Thank you. Just so that you can feel that it was okay. All right. So a bit about what we're doing. Okay. A bit about what we're doing. So like the Sanskrit for word mantra, we can see the first syllable man. The English word mind comes from the Sanskrit mana. That's the first syllable. And tra means to deliver or to free, to extricate. So a genuine mantra is sound vibration that's completely sattvic, Shuddha sattva, completely pure, composed of the names of the divine, that frees the mind from material entanglement, that frees the mind from illusion and delusion, and frees us to realize experientially who we are as spirit soul. And yoga, the term yoga, like everyone in the world practically knows the term yoga. The actual meaning of yoga is to connect, to link. Yoga means plus. So essentially, like the English word to yoke comes from the Sanskrit yoga. So essentially yoga is the self connecting with itself in self-realization and connecting with God in a spirit of devotion. So this is yoga through sound vibration. If someone, let's say, is an agriculturalist, a farmer working the earth, and they're coming closer to self and the supreme source, that would be yoga. It would be called karma yoga. Okay, so anything can be used in a way that's dovetailed in yoga. Doesn't mean any work is yoga, but work that actually supports the self to turn towards itself and self-discovery and to turn towards God in the spirit of devotion. Hare Krishna. So there are many mantras in any genuine spiritual tradition. You've got mantra, and so like I grew up with a mantra in the Hebraic tradition. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. It's composed of the names of God, like that. So that's from the Bible. It's from right before the Ten Commandments, the Shema. So a principle of any multimedia presentation is the more senses engage in an activity, the easier it is for the mind to focus. The mind is the center of the senses. And as we focused on during our talk in the past hour and a half, it's not about trying to shut down the mind, but to move the mind to its peaceful meditation, to transform the mind's focus from matter to spirit. So, as we've discussed, Stephanie shared, there could be so many agitating vibrations, and we move. So Prabhupada described A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, who brought this ancient, timeless Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, brought Srimad Bhagavatam around the world. He described that this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it's not an artificial imposition on the mind. It's the original energy of the self. That's why we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. It can feel like, well, this is really foreign and strange. I didn't grow up with this. But somehow it feels like coming home, because it's the original consciousness of the self. We're connecting with the very substratum of our existence. So in mantra meditation, or just like a multimedia presentation, it's not about don't think of that, don't think of that. It's about positively engaging the senses in spiritual sound vibration. So we're engaging the sense of touch, the sense of speech, the sense of hearing. So for those who would like to participate, for japa, and this is called japa beads, similar principle to the Catholic rosary or the Islamic masbacha. For years I lived and shared Krishna consciousness in the Middle East. We would sometimes engage in bhakti programs like this one in Muslim villages, and we would chant the names of God together. They would have their masbacha, we'd have our japa beads. So it's generally recommended to use right hand, thumb, and middle finger, and to start with the bead next to the bead with the tassel. Right hand, middle finger, and to start with the bead next to the bead with the tassel. And on that bead, to chant one mantra, one Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then to move to the second bead away from the tassel bead, and again chant one Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then to move to the third bead away from the bead with the tassel and chant one Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In this way, we'll chant in unison, whoever would like to participate, one Maha Mantra per bead, not including the bead with the tassel. There are 108 beads on the strand. To chant one mantra per bead, 108 Maha Mantras, we call that chanting one round of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra Japa. And it's a meditation process. It's a meditation on transcendental sound vibration. We chant, and we just do our best to focus our mind, consciousness, power of hearing on each word of the mantra and be with our experience. If we notice our mind wandering here and there, just notice that and do our best to bring the mind back to the sound vibration of the mantra and experience our experience. So we'll start with the first bead next to the bead with the tassel. And we'll start with the first bead next to the bead with the tassel.